This is a quick demonstration of some of the creation options for limb controls to show you how you can sort of create the setup that you want for the particular character that you have. So first I'm just going to do weight shift create ragdoll using all the defaults, and then we're going to go to weight shift limb control, and we'll talk about some of the options here. First off, we're saying that we want to create and visualize limb controls. Normally this is the option that you want unless you're a rigger and then you want to place the actual controls themselves somewhere else. In that case, you would want to just create limb controls. But for most users who are just starting out, you will want to create and visualize. You can choose if you want to control the entire hierarchy, which means that it's going to recurse through the entire hierarchy. So if you had hands, it would make controls for every single finger and for all the toes, etc. Or if you just wanted to do a section of the character, and then you have to decide how branches are handled. Finally, we can decide how many controls you have. So in this case, we're going to have a curve for each branch, and we're going to parent the curve to the branch itself, and we're going to scale it appropriately. We're also just going to control everything with a single weight value. So I'm just going to go ahead and limb control those, and you'll see what I mean. So the way the algorithm works is it starts the selected route, and then it looks for branching points. So in this case, the leg is a branch, and left leg and right leg are branches, as is the spine. And then it comes up here. There's another branching point, so you get a control for the arm, left arm, right arm, and then the head, because these are the branching points for this rig. And when I click on the character, I just have a weight. That's because I selected to just see a weight. And all of these controls are independent. So even though the arms are below the spine here, changing the strength of the spine does not change the strength of the arms or the head. And we have independent control curves. Right, I'm going to make a sort of alternate setup here on this character. So I'm just going to do weight shift create ragdoll. And in this case, I'm going to do a limb control, but I'm going to say that rather than giving a curve for each branch, I'm just going to have a single control, and I'm going to put that control at the origin in this case. And we'll just go ahead and limb control that. We're still controlling the entire hierarchy, and we're making independent controls for the entire hierarchy. So I'm going to do limb control. I think I might I'll put it at the origin, so you're not seeing it here. I'll put it underneath the character, and I'll scale it up. So now, if I look at this control, you'll see that I have controls. They've just named them appropriately. So controls for the left leg, the right leg, the spine, the shoulder, the right shoulder, the neck, etc. But now we just have one place to edit all of those values instead of a single, instead of a curve per part of the rig. But each control is completely independent. So we go ahead and simulate. And click on this single control curve, and let's say we want to make the all these parts of the body weak. We can do that. Now a slightly weaker upper body, etc., all on a single control curve. Okay, here we'll do some of the additional options. So we'll weight shift ragdoll. This sort of, imagine this is sort of like a tail scenario. And we'll just so you can see the effect, we will change this from being a dynamic to a kinematic tail. That top, so it's falling down now. Okay. And we'll go ahead and limb control this. So I'll select the root, weight shift, limb control. In this case, I'm going to say that we're not going to have independent controls for the branches here. So I'm going to say that they share a single control, and the single control, rather than putting the control at the origin, we'll parent the control onto the branch, but put one control for the entire hierarchy, and all the branches are controlled by one control. So we're using a weight as the channel as well. So I'll create a limb control now. So now we have this single control here, and we just have a arm weight control value. So even though we have multiple branches, we just have this one weight for everything, and we can just lower that down to, let's say, 0.2, rebuild, and now we have that control, and that same weight is influencing all the way down to the tip of the of this tail. Okay, here's an alternate setup. Imagine that instead of a tail, it's a hand. So we'll go ahead and create ragdoll. We will do the same setup as before, where we'll make this kinematic. Okay, and now I'm going to create a limb control. In fact, I'm going to create a linked limb controls that you can see all the individual ones. So now I'm going to create across the entire hierarchy, but we're going to give independent controls to each one, and we're going to say that the parent can influence the children, and we will do a curve for each branch and parent curve to the branch. So I'll do limb control here. So now what's a little bit different about this is like the sort of the first example, but we've put a curve for each branch. So now I can lower the strength of this finger here, and I'll redo that. So you notice that I can drop the strength of this finger, but now this control, let's call it the hand control, can influence the controls of everything downstream. So for example, I can lower the strength of the entire hand down. So each one of these fingers is getting weaker as well, and this finger is getting even more weak because you have a strength of 0.1 down on this particular control. So that's an introduction to limb control. Obviously, a whole lot of options as to how you might want to control them and set them up, but these are some of the useful options